Oh, we're live, boys. We're live. The Red Mask live stream is live. Welcome to this week's episode of the Civil War podcast. We are joined by a few, well, two. I guess two could be considered a few.
It's a couple. Well, if you include yourself as well, then it is a few.
Yeah, that's true.
A few is three or more. Several is seven and more.
Well, I can't really include myself because it's my podcast.
So you got a couple then.
So we are joined by a couple of fine gentlemen, and a few fellow historians. We are joined by the beautiful and highly ranked Private Digger.
Yay!
And the old Dutch, General Kautz. Yep. And me, your host, Colonel Red. Welcome, Liberators, to this live.
Oh, goddamn it!
Language.
Hello.
Oh, it's Bryce, and we're also joined by the dirty Reb known as Bryce.
Oh, fuck off.
Hey, language.
Watch your language. Yeah, language.
I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I mean, it is a good thing that he's got less than a potato mic. So.
See, Arthur gets it why I'm wearing the mask. One, I'm not getting the Rona. I already got the diabetes, so I'm skipping that and jumping on the next band train to get the Rona beatus. Two, I just look awesome in it.
Give it like 10 minutes. It's going to be too hot for you, probably.
You know what? I'm a reenactor. I have fought the heat on several occasions. I will do it again. But this podcast is sponsored by... Matt, who's our sponsor this week?
Oh, hang on. Give me a sec. NordVPN.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Matt, why don't you give that word in from our sponsor?
Huh?
Why don't you give the word from our sponsor?
Why do I have to do it? I just work for you.
That's why I'm telling you to do it.
Okay. Let's see. NordVPN, I think they steal your information and sell it to sketchy international people who will use it to, do bad things.
I think NordVPN exclusively prevents that.
You actually think I read it? No, I took the money and ran.
NordVPN, we all know and love, protects your website.
That it is opposite day for Digger because
basically, everything NordVPN does is the opposite of what Matt just said. So,
also like Facebook, they take your information and sell it. Okay.
Yes, they are the opposite of Facebook. They keep your information safe on any website you are using. What's funny is if I go like this on my beard, I can feel it through the mask.
Good.
Yes. There's the bottom of my beard right there. Anyhow, yes, this podcast is going to be interesting because we're going to be talking about the unusual weapons from the Civil War, the rare, and then by the end of it, we'll be talking about just weird weapons we've heard about or seen throughout history. I think I can think of a couple examples of those right away with some of the items I have lying around here. Like, for one, this thing from Assassin's Creed. What? It's a crossbow and a knife? Okay, moving on. Who wants to start us off? Don't everybody jump at once now.
We all know about the Whitworth rifle. You know, the hexagonal bullet with the hexagonal barrel that's twisted gives extreme accuracy. Most commonly by the Confederates. Well, the Confederates also had one Whitworth.
You're cutting out there, bud.
The Whitworth can was made by Whitworth, the same person that made the rifle that the sharpshooters used. And it was also the hexagonal bullet inside the hexagonal rifled barrel. But the Whitworth cannon was different than other cannons because it was one of the first breech-loading cannons. And it had an accuracy of up to 5 to 6 miles, which most of the time you can't see that far anyway. So its accuracy was beyond the limitation of your eyes.
Dang, that's a That's quite the distance.
Absolutely.
Oh, I forgot to mention, we are also joined by one other today. And he has been in almost every single one of my live streams. We're also joined by Spike. Everybody's a fan of Spike. He's a beautiful guy. He's a sweetheart at heart, but if he sets his eyes on you, he'll just think you're just the most delicious, beautiful person he's ever met.
I am glad I am not an octogenarian.
But you is, though.
I feel like it some days, but I am not.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Ah, yeah, it looks good. I like this mask. It's like rawr. You know what? Mask is coming down because it feels weird on my beard. I'm gonna have to shave my beard. Or trim it. Trim these
Well,
feathers.
Looks like you got further along, or you didn't get as far along as what Matt had thought.
No, I wasn't going to wear the whole thing the whole stream because how am I going to resist people in my beard?
It's true.
Yes. See, Archer gets it. Spike is the man. Is it getting a little dark in here for everybody's liking? I mean, we got the window open, but that's just a big old glare.
It's a little dark.
Well, I'll fix it later. Let's see. Another weird weapon of the Civil War I found was the Colt revolving rifle.
Dangerous.
Very. It was also, little known fact, it was used by a lot of the Berdan sharpshooters.
Yeah.
And
Damn.
because of the fact that all revolvers could chain fire or chamber fire, meaning all 6 cylinders would go off at the same time. The Colt revolving rifle was known to do this as well, and there were many reports of Berdan sharpshooters losing their fingers because of that rifle.
Yep. Happened quite a lot, according to reports of it.
Let's see what other. I think a known one, but I still think is weird is the Lamat revolver.
Still, that's not that uncommon, but yeah.
It's not uncommon, but it's still one of the unusual weapons of the Civil War. You know, because a lot of us.
Go ahead, Red. Sorry.
You're all right, but a lot of us are familiar with 6 shooters and sometimes 9 shooters. But how many times have you ever heard of a 6 shooter with a 20 gauge shotgun barrel on it?
Not very many.
See, exactly. It's one of the things that I think makes you unique. Plus, the look of it is very. The handle on it looks more. Let's see. Where is? You know what? I'll be able to make a good comparison here. One moment, boys. Let me grab this.
You're an officer who has a Lamat revolver.
Okay.
And you're running up on someone, you decide to use a shotgun, you take out like 2 or 3 people with it.
Okay, so, the handle on the Lamat looked more this way than it would than you would see on a normal revolver. Which I find very interesting. They also had 2 finger grips for the trigger. They had a finger grip for the trigger guard and then the trigger. Which I honestly want to shoot one live to see what it's like to actually fire one. Boom.
I have been doing a little bit of digging around, and I have decided that I want to get the Colt Pepperbox.
Oh, a Yankee pepper box?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Which is essentially a Colt Navy with the barrel removed.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is essentially a elongated cylinder, and that is your whole weapon.
Is it even an elongated cylinder, or
Yes.
is it just a standard cylinder?
No, it is okay, let's say here's your Colt. Cylinder comes about right here.
Fair enough.
They're it's a pretty good sized firearm. I mean, the ones I've seen, they're pretty decent.
but they're very inaccurate.
Yes, but if you're using a pepper box, I don't think you have to worry too much about accuracy.
You're at the point that they are right in front of you.
And if you can
That's
miss,
one of them cut shut.
if you are, especially for someone like Couts who came up through the ranks, who was combat trained, who was a seasoned fighter, if you miss that close,
I deserve to die.
yes. Ooh, hold on, here we go. What about the Rampart? It was used on Navy ships, came out in 1847, was used to shoot flaming projectiles. I didn't know about that, Archer.
Ooh, incendiary rifles or rounds.
Yes. It sort of sounds like a Greek fire in a way. Ooh, interesting. Archer, give me some homework to do. See, I know there's more odd weapons of the Civil War. I know there's some makeshift ones you made in the trenches, like they're different kind of clubs, different kind of, especially because it was the intro to trench warfare, and compared to, let's say, a 1903 Springfield, a musket is significantly larger. And if the men in World War I didn't want to use their Springfield bayonet in the trenches, imagine using a 1861 Springfield bayonet attached in trenches. It's not going to go well.
Nope, not at all, really.
I just realized this is a boring stream.
Not boring for me.
Hippity hoppity, get the heck off my property.
Yes.
General Nulfie, hey bud, how you doing, pal? How you doing? Welcome to the podcast. Don't forget, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll answer them post haste, or we'll eventually get around to it.
One thing I do find interesting, though, is that the Confederacy trying to experiment a lot with weapons of their own because of the, importing things is a little hard at the time. But they did try a few different ways to invent new weapons for aiding in the war effort. Among them was actually a breech-loading style rifle. Me and Bryce were actually talking about it a little while back. It's a breech-loading rifle. You basically put the round in, you spin it, you spin the breech forward, put a cap, hammer, and then you push the revolving piece all the way forward, and it fires a 1.57-inch round. It's kind of underpowered, but it works pretty well, and it gets like an 800-yard range. It's really cool.
Really?
Another one among them was the Winans steam machine gun. It was a Confederate attempt at a machine gun using steam power for funneling tactics into trenches and stuff like that. Mainly more intended for the Western theater of the war. The intention of it was, it's steam powered. It doesn't get very far range, probably no more than 30, 40 yards. So if we could concentrate the Union forces, which is what we've been doing to them occasionally at time to time, get them into the corners, shoot them, and it's steam powered. So really, you're only wasting bullets and firewood. However, this was intercepted by the Union forces, the plans, and one prototype for it.
Ooh. Steam powered gun. That kind of that's sort of like the great grandfather of a lot of modern day pellet guns. Air power. Steam is nothing but hot air. So, hot water mixed with air, and yeah. But still, same concept of building up pressure with something and using it to force it. That is interesting.
It's very weird because they were only able to make one of it, and they were trying to test it in Richmond at the time and among several other places. But the problem was, it was weird to produce. They filed for a patent number within the Confederacy. It didn't go too well. But it was, at the time, not a bad idea. The coffee grinder or the Gatling gun made a little bit more sense than it, but, for the sake of being one of the first machine guns, not too bad.
Right.
It's really weird though. Then the other one was the I forget the name of it, but basically it's a carriage with 25 musket barrels on it, and they're all connected to the same primer.
You're
And it
welcome.
fires at once. Forget the name, though. But it was used for like bridge defense and stuff like that. Like if a company was rolling up a bridge, you could just pull out the 25 barrel gun, fire it, and most likely you'll kill almost all of them.
Sorry, boys. I was writing something.
Okay. Let me think. Bryce, didn't you say the Confederacy invented a revolving cannon too?
Yes.
Yes. Tell us more about that.
All right, let me get it up real quick.
Okay.
Is it really an invention of a revolving cannon when you already had the basis for like the buckle gun back in the early 1700s?
I mean, it just depends. I don't fully know. Let me
Meanwhile,
see.
while you're looking that up, Brad's going to sit here and go like this and entertain people.
Sounds like Rolling Thunder. Yes, it is Rolling Thunder. Archer, yes. There is actually, besides the fact, how in the Crimean War there was grenadiers who would throw those little Q-style bombs. You light the fuse and you throw it, it's a little bomb and it explodes. The Union invented something called a catch-em grenade. Like those little water-style footballs you throw. It's got the fins and it's got the football in the end, made for accuracy. Basically, add a plunger to the front of it. That's a Union catch-em grenade.
Now,
It needed to land on that plunger in order to detonate. Quite a few times they were picked up and thrown back.
Usually, I remember in Petersburg when they were used. I think it was by General Butler's forces. They would throw them into the Confederate trenches. The Confederates would hold out a blanket like a trampoline. They'd catch like 4 or 5 of them and they throw them back.
Yeah.
The primer also
Okay.
was not very free moving. It was kind of sticky.
Okay, I managed to find it.
Okay, Bryce, go ahead.
It says right here, the Confederacy also developed a 2-inch bore 5-shot machine cannon during the Civil War. It was used in the siege of Petersburg, Virginia, and was captured on the 27th of April, 1865 at Danville, Virginia. It says right here, the weapon uses the principle of the service revolver, whereby rotation of the cylinder indexes a loaded chamber with the breech end of the barrel. It is held in alignment by a spring-loaded dog slipping into a recess in the cylinder to cut gas leakage to a minimum. A screw arrangement at the rear jacks the cylinder forward after positioning until a tight joint is effected between the front of the chamber and the cylinder and the breech end of the barrel. The chambers are ignited by the use of percussion cap on the nipple. The cap is stripped by a huge spring-accuted. Oh, we got a friend.
keep
What's up,
going.
boys? How you doing?
Hey, General Nolfi, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good myself. What are y'all talking about?
Odd
All
weapons of the Civil War, and eventually we're just going to be going on odd weapons all around.
All right, that sounds good. Sounds good.
Shall I continue, Digger?
Yes, please.
So here, the cap is struck by a huge spring, I said, built into the flat strip that supports the chambers at their aft end. Or that's what it says. The cylinder is moved 1/5 of a revolution and lined up for firing by the moving of a lever from left to right. The lever is attached to a ratchet arrangement. The distance moved being regulated by its mounting in the frame in such a manner as to control the revolving of the cylinder. The lever, when brought to the left as far as possible and swung to the right as much as the frame will permit, turns the cylinder 1/5 of a revolution and indexes the loaded chamber. Its use at this time showed the serious effort of the Confederacy to develop a weapon capable of sustained fire. That's what it says.
Interesting.
So
Kind of like
it
Puckle gun.
sounds a lot like the Puckle.
Basically, yeah.
What about the
Except
parrot
Puckle gun
rifle?
had the crank on it.
What was that, right?
What about the parrot rifle?
Not a bad
Parrot
gun.
rifle. Oh, awesome.
It's one of the few actual mounted rifles that's still declared a rifle.
I would love that.
Oh yeah, we thought we saw one in Alabama. Unfortunately, we were severely mistaken.
No, it was a repeating cannon.
Yes, it was not a parrot rifle, but a repeating cannon, and they shot that thing off. It sounded so beautiful.
All of them were beautiful.
Yeah, especially that 1862, wasn't she?
Was it 2 or 3?
It's 2. We got to fight. Well, in a way, I was because all the officers there were looking at me, going, "Dude, command us, tell us what to do." So I was technically in command of an 1862 original mountain howitzer. They still fire her live to this day. They've even won competitions using her. Were there any guerrilla troops that would fight with bows, as in hit and run in silence? Archer, good question. A lot of natives would be used for that purpose, for if you want to do hit and run tactics such as that way. It wasn't too common to be heard of, because you got to remember that if the South had won the Civil War, they still would have been, right next to the U.S. like we are with Canada. So it would have been, if you had used guerrilla tactics like that all over the place, there still would have been a lot of bad blood afterwards.
Yeah.
So they're trying to keep it as
Gentlemanly.
yes, gentlemanly as they could, within reason of, hey, we still got to kill each other, but let's not be complete a-holes about it.
Yeah,
We won't be savages.
like in Mexico against the French, Mexico was using some guerrilla tactics that it kind of did get a little violent sometimes, and that kind of did influence why, especially like Robert E. Lee was like, "We don't want this. We don't want this."
Now, don't take it as me saying that guerrilla tactics never happened, because
No.
there is absolutely no way of documenting every little thing that happened in the Civil War. But the fact that each side had Native Americans fighting for them, and natives were very prominent in using bows for the longest time and spears and such, there, in a way, is a possibility that there was an ambush used, but with using bows.
That's true.
There is always that possibility. Not saying that it did happen, not saying that it didn't. All I'm saying is that it could have. It very well could
You
have.
also got to think of instances and units like Bushwhacker and
Redlegs.
this Red Leg.
Yes, Archer, now that I think about it, there were hit and run tactics. I used to be a part of a unit that used those. But not in silence. No, we were very loud about it. Noah asks, parrot rifle? Yes, a parrot rifle. I'm trying to think of the schematics in my head, how it looked. Essentially had a funnel attached to the top of it. Worked very similar to the way of a Gatling gun, to where as it was cranked, but they would like pour shells into this funnel, and the shells would feed in and go boom, 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 just like a Gatling gun, except it would jam very frequently. It would the funnel itself was not very reliable, because if let's say you're trying, let's say you have a big funnel and you're trying to put baby carrots down in it. After a while, one carrot's going to get lodged in there, and then you have to pull the rest of the carrots out, remove that carrot, and then feed them back in. Well, same concept with the parrot rifle. They had to all the time, fish out all those bullets, dislodge the jammed one, feed them back in properly, and then start cranking, and hopefully it would go again. it was one of the ideas that looked good on paper, but not well executed.
One thing I like to say is, while everybody's kind of silent right now, this has nothing to do with the Civil War weaponry, my bad. But did anybody here ever hear of the plan that was found in the White House documents? Not White House documents, but like where like most of America's like most important documents are found, of a flying machine idea that was given to General Lee and Jefferson Davis. Anybody ever hear that?
Yes.
The gift of dirigible.
Another thing I like to say is, you guys are talking about the whole Indian thing. You guys probably know the fact that before the Confederacy turned bad after Gettysburg, a lot of the Indian reservations also sided with the Confederacy, most likely out by Oklahoma, current-day Oklahoma, more the western, because they wanted to keep a good relationship just in case they won. But here's the thing that I believe they probably would have done if they were to use Indians. Your best bet is, say you have a Indian tribe down south. You're trying to get that land, but that tribe is patrolling that land. What you do is, instead of bringing your army down there, you find like a sworn enemy tribe, and then you pin them against each other like they did in the Revolutionary War. So it doesn't look like you're fighting them. It just looks like a tribal war going on. But meanwhile, you have one tribe on your side trying to get you that land. That's what I think they probably would have done.
That's quite possible. Just as in the Revolutionary War, where Native Americans were used, oftentimes they were promised that after, like when it comes to the Cherokee Braves fighting for the Confederacy, it was often promised, hey, you help us fight the North, we will give you your land back. We will give you more land than you'll ever have. Once we beat the North, you'll be able to retake all that is yours. And which, when it comes down to it, those were all lies. They were on both the Confederacy and Northern and the Union side. They told all these lies to the native tribes to get them to fight for them, where to basically use them as expendable troops.
Yep.
Another thing I want to ask you guys is, this is in current news. What do you guys think of the removal of the Mississippi state flag? What do you guys think of that?
It's wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't see what
damn coward.
I don't see how of changing something that happened, taking down something that involves something that happened, decades ago.
All they're doing is going to make more division.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's my thing. Basically, you're taking down a piece of cloth, and you're fucking taking down statues.
Language.
They're not hurting you. They're just fucking statues. They can't hurt
Language.
you.
Language, child.
Language.
Yes, we are all very irritated at the whole scenario,
Yes.
because if people actually knew the history, by the time that a lot of the statues were being put up in the from the late 1880s all the way up into the 1930s, that is by the time that all of those areas finished paying their reparations, and it gathered money that was those money was gathered from the wives, the daughters, the sons of the veterans and the ones that died during the war, to get a monument for their loved ones. Yes, this was during a very volatile time in America's history, a very racist time in history, but a good number of those statues, a good number of them, are not racist statues.
Like the one about Robert E. Lee. The man was he was outspoken against slavery. When the only reason they talk about Robert E. Lee and slavery is because he was the head of the Confederacy Army, and they are taught in school that Confederacy bad, Confederacy means slavery, North good, Union equals freedom.
Not necessarily
In the Confederate Constitution, it sets out an end for slavery. In all honesty,
it does.
I believe
it sets up the blueprints for the end of it.
yes, and when it comes
It's a long-term plan, but it was coming.
and when it comes down to it,
they knew it was coming too.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, the North is the reason slavery survived. Slavery was on the verge of dying until the North invented the cotton gin.
Eli Whitney inventing the cotton gin is what perpetuated slavery.
Yes.
Slavery was on its way out at that point.
Slavery was dying. And when he invented the cotton gin, the only thing they can think of, how are we going to keep up with this demand of cotton? Well, slaves. That was the only answer they had. That's what sparked it back up again. Was that one invention?
And after the war, it was just poor people of all color after the war was picking cotton in those.
Anyway, that's why so many people went out west to mine for gold or go dig coal. Knowing, and of course, black lung was known about at the time. The black lung was well known about at the time. It was all in the papers. But still, knowing that these men were so desperate for money, they went out and went in those mines without a second thought.
You got to do what you got to do to provide.
Yes. Ice asks us a question. Did they have double-barrel shotguns at the time of the Civil War? Yes.
They were very similar to your percussion cap rifles. You poured the powder in, you poured your projectiles in, and you put a cap on and fired. Very much the same.
Yes.
There were also flintlock style shotguns as well.
A lot of the Confederate militias were using flintlock rifles. A lot of militias in Kentucky were using Kentucky long rifles, which were flintlocks. Which I find it funny
conversion.
Yes, I find it funny that people say that the percussion cap musket is more advanced, yet the flintlock rifle was more accurate than a musket ever was in a Springfield. Robert Gould Shaw, yes. Robert Shaw, he was a good man.
Absolutely.
He was, I believe, in the attack. Oh, what fort was it?
Wagner.
Fort Wagner. I believe he was actually the first of his men to go down in the main assault.
He was definitely among one of them.
Yes, they lost men before they got up to the seawall, and they basically went down into a little crevice. And as they were taking cover, Colonel Shaw noticed no one was, that someone had that these men, needed to get a boot kicked to them, get their keister moving. Well, he figured either one, I'm going to make it over and men are going to follow me, because at this point they had fought together, bled together, eaten together, slept in the same camps, gotten to know each other. So they all had a bond at this point.
All took no pay.
Yeah, they all took no pay. Shaw was one hell of a man. He was an incredible man. But back to he went over that wall, that Sandy Hill, and he got shot, and he fell backwards and rolled over his men. That made his men angry. They all who were they? They were the 54. That's what I was thinking, but it wouldn't come out of my mouth. I'm like, it the words. But the 54th Massachusetts. They almost broke through the defenses at Fort Wagner.
They did. They
almost did, and it was shocking because they previously had gone 48 hours with no sleep. They had been marching all the time. Yep. I don't know about their food condition, their nutrition information.
Probably about the same, if not a little bit worse than the standard soldier.
Yes. Most likely. Because even though it was a revolutionary idea to have a whole division of colored troops, a whole brigade, people thought of it as a joke, that they can make jokes about it. They can withhold.
It was a publicity stunt, is what they thought it was.
Yeah, they thought, oh well, here we go. They're doing this now. So yeah, they're just trying to get attention. Let's not give them anything. Let's Hey, you guys want some stuff?
Yeah, well, if I'm not mistaken, a white Union soldier marching past them while they were doing a work detail saw the what was it, the sergeant major, and said stripes on a darky. It's like tits on a boar hog.
Yeah. Of course,
I'm
they didn't
paraphrasing.
say darky. They all use a very common term, which no bueno. No bueno.
But then again, darky was a term that was used during the Civil War, during the Victorian era.
Yes, it was a term that was more. That was actually kinder than what what people of color were normally referred to.
Darkies, colored, that wonderful word that we're not allowed to say.
Yeah, that magical word.
No word. Never say that.
Yeah, it's a no bueno word.
Yeah, I can hear you on that one.
Definitely a no bueno. Hey, there you
No
go.
bueno. No bueno.
Very no bueno.
Very no.
You know what? There's also some interesting swords out of the Civil War as well.
Is that like the Navy revolver with the sword underneath it?
Yes, there were sword pistols. I've wanted one for a long time, but a repo is like $7,000.
And they're really heavy.
Holy shnikes.
Yes, it is one of the things that is considered a custom request, especially if you want to get one that actually can fire.
Holy shnikes.
Kakri, what are you doing, dude?
Don't say that.
I'm not. I suppose your question there, but I was reading it and then you retracted it.
I'll retype it in a sec.
But yeah, guys, there are some sensitive subjects that if you have a dire need to know, then ask. If not, then do refrain from avoiding those, especially with how today is with the media.
Dear Red, Kekri asked the question before. Have you heard of John L. Burns?
No, I have not.
Is there someone named John Burns who works for the American Battlefield Trust? Actually,
Let me guess. Is that the Yankee that helped joined up with a Yankee regiment to fight the rebels at Gettysburg?
Yeah, that narrows it down to one, Bryce.
What?
That narrows it down to one. Did Robert Gould Shaw stop money from coming in because the people who were paying the soldiers were being raised? Yes. In a way, what happened was they were promised the same treatment and opportunities as white soldiers, given the same uniform, same weaponry, which they were issued Enfields, where almost the entire rest of the army was issued Springfields. So that right there was a kind of kick, like, hey, you're still here with us, but you're still different. You don't get the same weapons as us. But they were also given $10 as compared to $13 a month, which I know doesn't sound like a lot today. It's like, oh, who's going to care about $13? Well, when you can go and get butter, bread, and a bag of salt and a few other things for 10 cents. $13 was an incredible amount of money. And those were one of the promises that they were made, that they were going to be treated as equals. Well,
also you got to think when you enlisted into the military, your uniform, it cost $13 for it.
Yes.
Your accoutrements was $13. Your rifle was $15. You'd be working for 3 or 4 months before you even saw a dime because you had to pay the army back for everything you were issued.
and in some cases, you might actually get a bounty too.
There's that as well.
But I have never seen an African American soldier known to get a bounty for enlisting. However,
No.
Yes, this is true.
But yeah, there was a story where even Colonel Shaw refused to take pay because of how unfairly his men were being treated.
None of the white officers of the 54th took pay.
No, and
They all stood in solidarity.
That actually caught the attention of a lot of people. It's like, it's one thing, because you got to remember that they thought that it was a political statement. You know, like, hey, they're allowing black people to fight. Hey, look at these guys over here. Well, and now all of a sudden it's like, hey, let's give them less money. And then their officers started tearing up their paychecks as well.
How long did it take them to get them blue suits?
Yeah, their uniforms. It took them, let's see, a regular Union soldier, a white soldier, it would have taken a few weeks,
2 weeks at the most.
Yeah, 2 weeks at the most to get your entire uniform. I'm talking brogans, leathers, bayonet, rifle, hat, uniform, trousers, socks, undershirt, all of it. 2 weeks max. Whereas with the 54th Massachusetts, with them being colored troops, it took, I want to say, 2 months, I think.
I think that's right.
A couple of months
a while to get them.
for them just to get their uniforms. And
when the 54th was formed, it wasn't meant to be a fighting unit.
No, even though they were told they were.
It was not. They were told they were.
Yeah, they were told that, hey, you guys are going to go kick red butt too.
But no, they were actually formed as work.
Yes. Yes.
What the entire 54th was. It was just a giant work detail. They were digging trenches. They were clearing land. They were doing this. They were doing that, but they were not fighting.
Yeah. It was, but yeah, like he said, they were told that, hey, you guys are going to march shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the Union Army and drive back the Confederacy. Well, then, and Colonel Shaw knew this, that they were used only for a labor force, that they were going to be used for that. And so he had to keep that a secret from his men. So imagine, one, you're trying to earn these men's trust. You're trying to get them to respect you. While lying to them. That's like me talking to you guys right now saying, yeah, they think I'm going to do something important when I get all that money in from the donos. Shit, that's just going on to candy or something. That would be like me doing something like that to you guys. Which I would, I said candy.
Yeah, no, I heard another word in there.
Oh, I said a bad word, didn't I?
You did said a bad word.
Watch your language.
I apologize. Okay. But yeah, which I would never do to you guys, but that's the predicament he was in. Also, it was a new concept. He had to, because in the Union Army, if a soldier deserts, he's either flogged or hanged, depending on what the situation is. Well,
yeah, the hanging is mostly for your desertion and extreme dereliction.
Yes, but flogging was also an acceptable punishment for desertion.
Desertion is
well, there was another form of punishment that they used, which I actually think is a wonderful form of punishment. They did not physically hurt the suspect. What they did was they tied the guilty party's hands behind their back, turned them around backwards, butt to butt to a cow's tail, and tied them to the cow's tail and made them walk backwards behind the cow. That was a form of punishment.
You'd slip in the poo-poo a lot.
You could slip in the poo-poos. But you were at the back of the train. You was at the tail of the march. Quite literally and figuratively.
But yeah, and so, you got these, back to the punishments, you got these colored troops, and one of them deserts. One of the punishments is flogging. Which, for those of you who don't know, flogging is basically being whipped. And imagine, and so Shaw, upon trying to earn the respect of these men to show that he was not like other white people, because they all still believed that, he's just a high and mighty white man, and controlling us black people makes him feel all powerful. Some of them,
that is quite a possibility, but I think cowardice came before that.
Yes, but that's so. This is hard to put in words. With Shaw trying to maintain that thin line of discipline and letting these men know that he sees them as equals, because he couldn't talk to them like he normally would. Shaw did not believe in slavery. He grew up around colored kids. He had a lot of them who were friends. So he had to then cut the line of friendship, because now it was no longer friends. They were in the army now. There was Colonel Shaw, their commanding officer, and his majors, captains, lieutenants, and so on, all the way down to the privates. So anyone who knew him growing up wanted to talk to him. He had to basically tell them, you can't. You have to go through these lines. You got to talk to him. And at any point, they could say no, and then you got to go back down to the beginning. So that right there could come off as, oh, well, he's just, he's all high and mighty. So he's trying to walk that very thin line of equality, but maintain discipline.
Now, I did look up the origin of the word coward, and it originated from Latin, which the word is cauda, K-A-U-D-A, which is tail, and the Old French is coward, which is C-O-U-A-R-D, and the meaning is Middle English from Old French coward, based on Latin cauda, tail, possibly with reference to a frightened animal with its tail between its legs, reflected in coward. Since 2 of the subject, early 60s.
You cut out.
Damn it, you cut out.
No, I cut out, did I?
Yes.
Yeah, you cut out.
Well, it originated with Latin cauda, C-A-U-D-A, which is tail, and it went into Old French coward, C-O-U-A-R-D, and it just refers to a frightened animal with its tail tucked between its legs. 16th century is what I found.
So basically, the word coward is you're calling somebody a scared animal.
Essentially, yes.
Huh. Depending on the situation, that could be the appropriate term to use.
Yeah. The one book I was reading, which was interesting because he was also a judge advocate. In most cases, if you deserted, you were killed. Most common was hanging or shooting, especially for New Jersey units. But anything else usually was deduction of pay. Sometimes you would have to carry double haversacks that were loaded with extra junk you didn't need, like rocks or something.
That's a common practice nowadays as punishment.
But Robert Goldschmidt had a more particular thing on his shoulder because you kind of can't punish them, because if you do, then they're gonna be like, oh, you're like these people. Then you got to be firm but fair.
Yes, then that was
very fine line that he walked.
Yeah, he couldn't use normal army discipline, because very easily that could come off as, oh, he's just whipping us. He's just whipping us. Okay. Oh, he's just singling us out. He's punishing us. Okay. I would hate to be in his position. What are the times people would deserve? What are the times people would deserve from after charges because their unit is either dead or skybird across the battlefield? Okay, I believe what ICE is asking is, what would happen to the men if they're, during a charge, everyone else was wiped out but them? They would be, more than likely, they would be migrated into another unit. They would be reassigned or sent home. And then picked up again.
What happened is, there's record keeping is still kind of iffy, but in some cases, you would be reassigned. Other cases, you would be considered AWOL and brought up on charges of desertion. In some cases, but there's very few of those. But usually, if your unit was decimated, actually no, not decimated, octimated is a better word, because decimated only means a tenth, octimated means 80%. If that happened, usually it was kind of out of your control, and you would usually be reassigned to either a sister unit or a completely different unit altogether, which is not uncommon completely.
Or, like Kekri just pointed out, the 20th Maine and the 2nd Maine. The 2nd Maine was migrated into the 20th Maine.
You know what's funny about the 20th Maine?
They're awesome.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. But you know how they did that real nice charge at Gettysburg?
Yep.
Yes.
They did a bayonet charge, but what's interesting is that after the whole battle, after all the casualties were in, everyone was addressed, and the town was kind of like, back to normal by November, only 11 bayonet wounds were recorded.
Well, that's because people were smart and ran away.
We are smart. We're smart rebels.
Yeah, you led a charge across how many miles of open field?
Yeah.
Mile and a half.
It's a really nice field, though. I can say it's really nice.
It is a nice.
Smells real metallic.
Firing squad on the 54th Morale. Wow. Interesting.
That would, because usually the men doing the shooting were your comrades.
Usually, yeah.
Typically, yeah.
So that would not only be taxing on the CO and the XO, that would be taxing on whoever had to pull those triggers. Which, I hate to say, they would be from your company, your squad.
It would be kind of not good.
No bueno.
And AWOL does equal desertion.
Mm,
Who the hell is launching
Get
fireworks?
away without.
yes, Dad. I would love to join the armies. Oh, absolutely. I'll take some
Well,
loaded
yeah,
fries,
they weren't. The 2nd Maine wasn't
Diet Coke,
prisoner of war.
and a curly fry.
What was the situation with the 2nd Maine? I can't recall. Right.
Some of them were like considered
No Diet
deserters.
Coke?
Some of them were like they were. A lot of them were like
I'm
court
trying to refrain
martialed,
from
but
drinking that pop again.
more Joshua Chamberlain had his choice of what he wanted to do with them.
And he gave them the opportunity to join up with
Fair
the
enough.
20th Maine, to fight with the Maine
Yes.
boys as they had been, or to continue out
Okay,
their.
instead of a drink, can I have a
punishment,
shake then?
wasn't it?
I've
Their
never had an
sentence.
Arby's shake.
Yeah, their sentence was either
Vanilla.
forfeiture of future
Yes.
pay or
Case.
and other benefits of that, or
No,
you can join up.
that'll
And
do.
if I'm correct, I think
A
only
low
6
fry
can,
and a
join
vanilla
up.
shake.
Only 6.
That sounds right.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't
All
know.
right.
I think I got that from Gettysburg.
Bye.
But the second.
Sorry about that, boys.
It was interesting though because Joshua Chamberlain, not only was he an amazing orator, he was very very
Smart.
very very kind, very compassionate, and very noble.
Yes.
Chamberlain,
Yeah,
he
but-
was a man who knew when to stand his ground, when to back off and play it safe. He knew how to read people and play them, I should say.
He was an intelligent and educated man.
He was a
Yes.
professor.
He was not educated beyond his intelligence.
No. But it was anything. He had a very unique mind where he mastered anything that he was given. Like when he was given, when he was promoted to rank a colonel of the 20th Maine, he mastered being a colonel in a matter of weeks. Which,
I mean, shoot, how many times did he march his men into the lake before he learned not to do that?
once. That's because he's the one that got wet. They're like, ah. No, I have not had a Neapolitan
How do we
shake.
turn?
You know what bugs me? Okay, this is a reenacting thing. This bet is going to be my sword right quick. And let's say I'm like third company in, and people, they have mad attention, and then then the commander feels the need to direct his men, go left. It's like, just follow the people in front of you. It bugs me. Thoughts on the 69th, Noah? There's your answer. Right there.
I think we're all on board
With the 69th eye.
Hey.
I be an Irishman, Scotsman. I be many a things. But yes, no, I hope that answers your question. Kekri, I used to call it Napoleon ice cream, so
I did too.
yeah, it was never Neapolitan or yeah, it was Napoleon ice cream. Also, my cousin never called it vanilla; it was always vanilla. I think I just gave the best answer in one of my live streams
We're gonna
ever.
have to hop off here.
You want to have to hop off? Well, we only got 5 minutes left or so. We're only going to keep this an hour
Okay.
long.
Well, then I shall be talking with you all later.
All right.
Goodbye and good night.
Auf Wiedersehen. Matt, anything else you want to comment? Did people time out in the live stream, in the chat? Bryce is still here. Were there any known sword duels between officers? Not that I can know of, because these swords that they were issued were not made for dueling. They were mainly used for commanding and, if needed, hand-to-hand combat. But definitely not dueling. What's my favorite? Kekri, I think you're on our Discord. If not, the link is down in the description. What are your favorite history in the United States of America? Favorite history? I would have to say 1700s. I like the clothing. I like how simple it was to open shops. I have apples. Do you want to buy these apples? Yes. There you go. That was a shop. They shouldn't be that hard. No, I don't know of any officers like Archer. If I'm imagining this, it was if I'm reading you correctly here. Like, are you saying like two officers meet in the middle and then they like have like a dramatic sword fight by themselves? Because that would rarely happen, because at the time of a charge, especially when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, rarely did an officer get put in that situation unless he was really screwed up, because his men would be in front of him. But I know a way a bit around a sword. So let me grab mine and we can go over that. Okay. So what you got here is something that would be carried by almost every single Union officer. An 1850 staff and field officer's sword. Confederacy had one very similar to it, but theirs was straight. This has a slightly curved blade. Now, if you look at the blade and it's designed, it is not made for quick parries or thrusts. Kekri, if you're one of the pod boys and you want to be on for a little bit, yeah. This is the Pod Boys, and it's exclusive. We're trying to keep it down to a minimum so it doesn't go all hectic at the moment. But as you can see, it's not made for quick parries, or it's more made to counterbalance for commanding troops, forward, salutes. But most definitely, this could be used for hand-to-hand combat. Like the curve of that blade, if you catch someone perfectly right in the gut with it and drag it along, that will split them open. especially if you catch them right under the rib cage. That'll hook on those ribs, and then you would have to give a strong jerking motion to pull that sword back out. It would also be appropriate for, let's say, giving a good stabby stab. But yeah, this sword would definitely be, if need be, used for combat. How do you become a pod boy? For now, wait a bit, and then wait a bit. And when a pod boy opens up, when we need another pod boy, I will be. Ooh, that's actually how I'm going to do it from now on. Whenever we are looking to expand the pod boy family, it'll be like auditions to become a pod boy.
That'd be fun.
Oh, Matt's back.
Yeah, I've been back for a few minutes.
Oh, I need to clean you up. Yes, I do.
Ooh. But that's a fine sword indeed.
Yes. And if you look at the blade, you could tell that these were more for Matt, what's the word I'm looking for here to show
Ceremonious?
not ceremonious, your position in society. What's that called?
I don't know.
Well, let's just call it your rank, because I'm a colonel. This would be something I'd have. And if you look at it, that is not something that you would normally carry into battle.
I think it's illustrious is the same. Well, your sword, you mainly inscriptions were kind of limited. If you more insignia you had, the less you would actually use it.
Yes, that is why this would be ideal for a colonel to have, because the artwork that would have been put into the blade, the time that would have put into it, that is not something you would want to go out and clang and get all beaten up. This you would have saved more for ceremonies. Now, one of the favorites of the channel, let me put you back. One of the favorites of the channel I'll grab a couple of fighting swords here to give you guys a good look-see. And there are different reasons thereof. Now, like this is a fighting sword. A very heavy, not a very heavy blade, but it's a good, the point of balance is perfect for striking. It's one-handed, so you'd often have, in this time, have a pistol in one hand. That basket hilt, good protection for your hand, also an offensive weapon for punching. A good tip for driving or stabbing. Has a slight fuller, which for those of you who don't know, a fuller is a curvature in the blade, a divot in the blade that would basically you stab someone and it would cause blood to rush out faster, creating a harder wound to patch. This is something that you would definitely use to fight with. I have actually fought with this one and won, because
the real question is, did you win?
I just said I won.
Okay.
Red's kind of handy with a sword. It's got a good long blade because you don't want to get up close and personal if you can avoid it. If you have to do that, I recommend that you have something to pair with it. So let's say, for instance, I have these two. This one's a little hidden. Okay, someone comes up top. I can block their strike and go in for a stab with a knife. One of the classic combos that everybody figures out on their own. Let's see. Another fighting sword I have here is a naval cutlass.
Yay!
You'll notice that it is significantly smaller, and that is because on a ship you don't want something big and bulky like this that you'd have to swing around. The blade is much lighter, much faster. The hilt, very protective, same as that, but gives enough room to where it's very maneuverable. For that you'd have to slide your hand in on the Highlander blade. That you have to actually slide your hand in and grip. Whereas this, you could just quickly grab and draw. It's very fast. I actually got this at a thrift store. Yeah,
Really?
dude wanted $100 for it, and I was like, all right, it's a winless. Okay, it's very. I actually got bored one day outside practicing with it. Just getting a feel for it, and I decided to walk over to a tree that was about to be taken down. I just went and I split the tree branch right down the middle. And I was like,
Nice.
I love this thing. But it's very
Is it more
maneuverable.
similar to a light or a heavy cav saber?
Me, I have a wrist breaker,
Okay.
which would not be used in on hand-to-hand combat at all. It would not be effective because you'd have to bludgeon somebody with it. Hand-to-hand combat, you would want something to slice and dice. But I like how I said that you don't want anything that bludgeons people in hand-to-hand combat, when in reality, a tomahawk is not a sharp weapon. It is actually used more like a mace. It is heavy. You swing it hard. Boom.
Yeah, fun.
You know what? We've been going on for an hour and 5 minutes. Let's go for hour 10, and I think we'll call her there.
Keep going.
But I'm the child. All right, Ice. See you later, buddy. I also have a few fantasy swords over there, which y'all have seen. But yeah, it also all depends on the style of sword and the style of fighting that you would be doing. Like with a katana, you'd have two-handed, or you'd be paired with a smaller sword. A Chinese Chinese shao, it would be more for moving like a rapier, which I have one hanging above me. They fast movements. Even English longsword in some cases have been reported to be faster than rapiers, because the way that Hollywood describes English longswords is, or European longswords, is these big old heavy things. You see the guys, bring their whole arm back, and swinging them around and everything. They're not like that at all. Honestly, you would rarely see anybody, because if I do this, my attacks are going to be too predicted. So if you're fighting me and I see you go like this, well, he's obviously coming down at me. But if I have the blade up like this, then I can come for a quick strike from the side, quick one over the top, even a quick one from this side. It's actually I love the art of swordplay, because there's more surprise to it than what people think. Yeah, Kicker, I think katanas are a bit overrated today. I mean, I love the artwork of them. They are a legendary blade, but that's why I only have the one, is because it's a downright beautiful one. And it's very pretty. It's a very pretty katana. That's the only reason I have it.
It's aerodynamic.
Yes, they are legendary blades, though, because they're they are the truly only self-sharpening blade.
Honestly, I just prefer sabers. They just look cooler.
It depends on what kind of saber. You got your Polish sabers, your English sabers, your cav sabers, infantry sabers, officer sabers.
American infantry, straight up.
Those are heavy sabers.
I like them.
Lindy Bay. Dude, I love Lindy. He's awesome. I talked to him one time. No, I didn't. That was a lie.
Red knows everyone's famous.
Hey, I'm Brandon F's my friend, so.
I know no one.
Yeah, those of you who don't know, Brandon F is a good buddy of mine. He's a fellow Ohioan. Very smart, very much more educated than I is.
You're pretty well educated.
Yeah, but my brain is slipping from those seizures, so yeah, Red's not on top of his game anymore.
Well, Matt can hang fridge magnets from his arm for a few more weeks, so.
Red cut his finger the other day.
That's
And then here's actually one of the most rare weapons from the Civil War.
have one.
Does anybody know what this is?
Why? Why do you torture me?
This is a 1858 Maglite. They were operated by a single push of a button like that. Only 5 left in existence. I have one of them. And I wonder how many people are who watch this video playback are going to be like, that's a real thing? That's holy shit. Holy crap.
Yes. It's very, very rare indeed.
Kekri, my grandfather would disagree with that one. He saw a lot over there involving Japanese katana wounds and how deep they would go and even cut into M1 Garands.
I've heard of that before, actually.
Yes.
Because the thing is, you got to realize if it's going fast enough and it's strong enough, it'll go through.
Like, theoretically, if you have a strong enough blade of grass, it'll kill you.
I can vouch for that. I got a piece of a splitting maw in my arm right now.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, just grab a pair of pliers and pluck it out.
I can't. It's like an inch in there.
Well, then get a knife, cut an inch deep. Come on, man.
Ugh.
But with that being said, I think I'm going to end the stream now.
Don't end it. Don't end it.
I will be on Discord afterwards, boys. We might do a Hunger Games later today. I do not know. With that being said, there are a few channels I would like to shout out. Calibrated Core, Brandon F, Civil War Digital Digest, General Cody HD, Company D, Second United States Sharpshooters, and the Townsends. A lot of their recipes are used from the Revolutionary War and such on from that. I knew that was a mag label from 1858. What? A lot of their recipes can be passed down up to the 1860s where I reenact. So a lot of the recipes I can use out there, which I plan on making some ash cakes in future events. Hopefully at Dogwood. Which, those of you who don't know, if you're close to the Ohio area, July 17th, 18th, and 19th is in a place in Beaver, Ohio called Dogwood Pass. We're doing Morgan's Raid. For those of you who don't know what that is where General Morgan of the Confederate Army led a rampage through the Union states that drew attention away from the main Union Army. Same thing that he was basically burning and pillaging, just like Grant and Sherman were, except they weren't doing it to drive attention away from the Confederate Army. They were just doing it to win the war. Well, Morgan just wanted to cause a rabble rizzle.
Rebel rousers.
Rabble rousers.
Morgan.
The Patreon is in a link down below. Do not feel the need to go there and pledge anything. That is just a more supportive way of saying thank you, Red, and here, maybe some better equipment in the future, which, who knows, that might lead to Red getting his gaming PC, where he can actually then start doing gameplay for you guys.
I'm looking forward to that.
Little Red War of Rights action? Yeah, Patreon, if you want to see that, go make a pledge. There is also the Discord where we have a lot of fun on there. A lot of memes are posted. I actually posted this shirt on there today, which I'm going to stand up.
That was funny. That's funny.
This is my shirt. It says, "I have diabetes. I don't have the energy to pretend that I like you today." And of course, my favorite sutler, CNC Sutlery. They are extremely kind people. Had to send my dad's uniform back. They didn't give a fuss about it whatsoever. They said, bring it on. We'll fix it all up. We'll get it right back out to you. They are amazing people. They even called up to check on me when the coronavirus was taking place. They're awesome.
They're very nice people. They did the same for me. I needed a bigger size jacket. I returned it, and they gave it to me, no additional charge.
With that being said, boys, yeah.
Actually, right. If I could add another thing.
Go ahead.
If any of you want, we'll be on Discord afterwards. We'll be in like the general chat or one of the other open chats. Just hang around.
Yeah, come talk to us. We're normal people. We will only push you away for 5 minutes, and then we might accept you. You know how we celebrities are. We're too good.
We'll all be there to make fun of Bryce.
Yes. I don't think he's here, otherwise he would have said something.
No, Bryce, watch your language.
Language! And you'll be hearing plenty of bad language from Red, Matt, Bryce, and all the other guys. Something you wouldn't normally hear on live stream that we've been trying to prevent. So, yeah, come listen to our potty mouths for a while. And I will see you guys either in the next video, which I have a couple ideas planned, which may or may not work out. And also, or the next live stream. Who knows? See you guys later.